In a time of war, progress, and upheaval, a man named Carl sat in silence, asking questions no one else dared to ask. What is the purpose of life? Why do I feel so empty despite everything I've achieved? Carl was a man of reason, a doctor of the mind. He studied the symptoms of others, but knew that something deeper stirred within himself. One day, while walking alone along a Swiss lake, he whispered to the wind, "Is it possible that the path to truth is not out there, but in here?" Thus began his true journey. In the quiet, book-laden corners of Carl Jung's study, a thin volume of Rumi's poetry lay open beside his analytical notes. Though Jung was a man of science, deeply embedded in the early 20th century world of Western psychology, he often found solace in the mystical verses of the 13th century Persian poet. Among the many lines he underlined and scribbled beside, one struck him deeply. "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." To Jung, this was not simply poetic metaphor. It was psychological truth, echoing a reality he had discovered through years of studying the human psyche. And perhaps, as he once confessed, it was also a truth he had always known, even before he could put it into words. Jung's fascination with symbols, archetypes, and dreams led him to conclude that the psyche speaks a universal language, one that is rooted in the language of myth and metaphor. He noticed that dreams often carried spiritual imagery: rivers, caves, light, animals, and wise old men. Rumi too filled his poetry with these images, not as decoration but as signposts to the divine. Jung's break with Freud had left him professionally isolated, but spiritually liberated. He wrote that it was only during that time of solitude that he began to hear his own voice clearly. It was during this time, his mid-30s to early 40s, that Rumi's verses began to appear more often on the margins of his notebooks. Jung's fascination with symbols, archetypes, and dreams led him to conclude that the psyche speaks a universal language, one that is rooted in the language of myth and metaphor. Jung was fascinated with this Rumi quote, "Be like melting snow, wash yourself of yourself." Jung saw in this a psychological process. The melting snow was the persona, the socially crafted identity we wear to survive the world. It is necessary but not sufficient. To live only from the persona is to live in exile from the self. For Jung, the true self lies buried beneath layers of collective conditioning, trauma, fear, and pride. To uncover it requires what he called the descent into the unconscious, where the ego must meet its shadow and embrace its opposite. This journey mirrors Rumi's imagery of fire and light, of annihilation and rebirth. Both men taught that wholeness is not perfection, but unity, the union of opposites. As Jung wrote, "The self is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere." Rumi, centuries earlier, echoed, "You wander from room to room, hunting for the diamond necklace that is already around your neck." He noticed that dreams often carried spiritual imagery: rivers, caves, light, animals, and wise old men. Rumi too filled his poetry with these images, not as decoration but as signposts to the divine. Jung did not believe this was a coincidence. He came to understand that we are all born with access to a deep shared memory, the collective unconscious, which is, in essence, a reflection of the divine field. While Jung never claimed to be a mystic, he felt deeply that the soul was real and that the psyche cannot be reduced to mechanics. This belief was a bold stance in an era dominated by rationalism, but Rumi gave Jung language for what he sensed, that within every human being is not just a bundle of neuroses, but a sacred seed, the light that shines through the lamp of being, as Rumi might say. Jung's break with Freud had left him professionally isolated, but spiritually liberated. He wrote that it was only during that time of solitude that he began to hear his own voice clearly. He built a stone tower by Lake Zurich, not to escape the world, but to listen to himself, to nature, and to the silence beneath thought. Like a dervish who spins not to dizzy the senses but to align with the cosmos, Jung withdrew to align with the self. There he often recalled a particular Rumi line: "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. This was the foundation of Jung's shadow work, the idea that the very emotions we fear, deny, or project are the doorways to healing. He taught his patients not to avoid the darkness within, but to confront it, integrate it, and find in it the gold they had forsaken. He believed that the wound is not the end, it is the place where the light enters. In both Jung and Rumi's worldviews, God is not external, seated on a cloud or bound to ritual, but present within. As Rumi puts it, "I looked in temples, churches and mosques, but I found the divine within my heart." Jung, trained in theology, arrived at a similar understanding, that the divine is not out there to be worshipped, it is in here to be awakened. By the time he was in his 60s, Jung had become one of the most influential voices in depth psychology. Yet when asked about his life's work, he once said, "What I have lived, I did not learn from books or lectures. It was given to me from within." That inner guidance, he believed, was the same spirit that Rumi called the beloved. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? Rumi Carl Jung spent his life not just opening that door for himself, but showing others that it existed, that wholeness was possible, that life begins truly when you stop trying to be what the world expects and start listening to what your soul whispers. And so, in the golden silence of his old age, sitting beside the waters of Lake Zurich, surrounded by books, carvings, dreams and memories, Jung smiled, not because he had found all the answers, but because he had finally found himself, and life, at last, had truly begun.
If this video touched your heart, subscribe. It's inspired by the timeless wisdom in the 7-book Rumi collection by Dr. Farid Mostaman. Whether you seek healing, love, clarity, or growth, these teachings will guide you inward to the truth of who you are.